So, good morning, guys, good evening, and good afternoon to viewers from all walks of life. This is Desmos, and you are welcome to the channel of truth, enlightenment, freedom, and the channel of breaking empaths free. If you are new on this channel, I talk about narcissism and narcissistic abuse, I talk about spirituality, and I talk about personal and self-development. And if any of that stuff resonates with you, I invite you guys to join us. Give us a like, share this video with your friends, and you may subscribe if you haven't already. And for those that have always been with us, you are welcome back, and I thank you for your love and support. So this video, I'm going to revisit a subject of the dysfunctional family and the black sheep. So I'm going to tell you guys exactly how to identify that you have been dealing with the dysfunctional family. Because remember, guys, in my last video, I told you all the things what happens when the black sheep or the chosen one is breaking down the generational cycle in that entire unit. So there's a lot of things that I didn't mention about because of time, and because that subject was specifically about that particular subject. But there are some other things within that I didn't talk about, and the steps within that I missed is not because that I missed them, but I just didn't talk about them. Is there is also going to be a situation whereby you're going to notice that the toxic family member, the toxic family guy at the top, the guy we talked about at the top, for you guys of you who remember, is also going to recruit a new scapegoat. But before we come to that, I would like to say you guys that this subject sometimes is very triggering for the most of you guys who have been the chosen one, the black sheep in the family. So you may find sometimes this subject very triggering. But remember, guys, this is a channel of truth. So normally it's the truth that sets us free. I do not trigger people on purpose. I just come out with authenticity. But we all know that sometimes being authentic can trigger other individuals. And the truth, always people perceive the truth in a different way. But for you guys, the chosen ones, I understand you're going to concur with me. And so in the dysfunctional family, guys, remember, in this family, this family has got a specific operating system. So this family has got particular members that have been placed in different positions to perform different roles. We have always talked about also the golden child. You guys have seen my video about the golden child, the child who receives all the admiration, the child who is like favored in the family, who receives all the praises and this and that. So the child who never does any wrong in that entire unit. We've talked about the golden child, and that golden child, I've explained to you guys the details of what happens with that. I may have to share the video in the comment section below. So in my videos, I also talked about the paralyzed child. So that is the child who has been tortured from the very beginning of their life in that entire unit. They have been tortured, they have been abused, manipulated, and all these kind of things. And those children, because of that, they have become paralyzed, and sometimes they have failed to perform as normal, healthy human beings. You know what I mean? So they have sometimes even left the family and continuously lived a whole lot of toxic cycles during their life. So for most of you guys also who haven't watched that video of the paralyzed child, I did a video about the paralyzed child. You may have also to link to check in the section below. I may share that video with you. We also talked about the case of the lost child. So the lost child, this was a child in that family who never tried to participate in some kind of a thing. So sometimes when they saw those dysfunctional parents or things like that, the people like that getting into conflicts with other individuals in the family, so the lost child, those were the guys who used to watch things from a distance. So they used to sit back in the corner of the house, and they just used to sometimes see their dads beating up the black sheep or beating out the paralyzed child and doing all these kind of abnormal things. But you know, the lost child, normally they're very reserved, and they don't want anything to do with those kind of individuals. So what they do, they just sit in the corner of the house and they're watching everything from a distance. So those lost children, normally they never engage their narcissistic parents. They try to stay as far away as they can. They talk less because they already know they can see this dysfunction for what it is. So the lost child is like the opposite of the black sheep, because you see, the lost child, they are watching the whole dysfunction happening, but at the same time they are not getting involved with it. So they're just sitting in the background and watching everything from a distance. Unlike the black sheep, who is watching all the BS and the mess up going on in the family, and they're actually speaking about it. So the black sheep, they always stand out for the truth, because those are the individuals, like I've said, they are the strong ones. They're the ones who always come out with the truth, and they can confront those narcissistic parents or whatever it is they are doing, or whatever it is they are saying that is out of the ordinary. But the lost child, they are standing in the corner of the house. Sometimes they're locking themselves in the room and they're watching things, all this dysfunction go on in that vicinity from a distance, and they don't want to participate in that. So those are also the lost child. Now, normally what happens in the dysfunctional family, when the black sheep awakens, like you guys have seen my previous video, when the black sheep awakens and they get out of the family unit, they shake up the whole foundation. Like I've said, you guys, you will hear the black sheep, they're going to blow the trumpet. All the black sheep that have awakened all around the world, the very moment they notice they were black sheep, and they awaken from these roles, because like I've said, the black sheep, they awaken at later stage in time. Sometime when they notice that, they will come to the realization and to the awakening that actually they've been taken advantage of, you know what I mean? So they have always been, even sometimes they have, a lot of attempts have been made on their lives, and they have got and been raised in narcissistic families. So the black sheep, they awaken and they discover this, and normally, like I've said before in my previous video, the black sheep, they blow the trumpet, they excuse themselves from those entire units, and now they blow the trumpet and they make all this dysfunction. They blow the trumpet and create awareness about this whole dysfunction, what is going on in that family. They'll always, most of the black sheep I know around the world, they have usually talked about this online. So there's a lot of black sheep who are talking about this dysfunction online. Sometimes, if they don't have a media platform, they have tried to reach out to people and told them, oh, sometimes disclose this dysfunctional in purpose. Although it is a very rare case, but most of the black sheep I know around the world, they use online media platforms to spread the message. So they have awakened the other family members in the team. They have let them know what is going on. So the other family members are now starting to see this dysfunction for what it is. So normally, like I said, guys, in my previous video, this kind of whistleblowing from the black sheep, it shakes up the whole entire family unit. So it shakes up, and it shakes up the foundation of that dysfunctional family. So what happens is that, like I've said, some of the family members in that team, they start to separate. They go east, they go west, and they start to create their own series of generations of kids that they are not going to want to associate with anything that has got to do with that dysfunction, because always there is somebody who's going to resonate with the black sheep in those entire family units. So like I've always said, you guys remember I said that sometimes in the dysfunctional families, there's a lot of members involved in that family. So sometimes you may find a family which is between 5, 6, 7, the children in that dysfunction, because it's already a dysfunction for starters. It's already a dysfunctional family. So it is not going to be it is not going to be strange that you're going to find a lot of very, very different kind of family members, different mothers, different fathers, siblings, step this, step that. So there's going to be a lot of siblings in that family spread all over the entire unit. But now, the black sheep, like I've said, guys, they will awaken. So normally when they awaken, what happens is that they extract, the first thing what they do, they extract themselves from that entire unit. So they get out of the unit. They run out of the unit. The reason why the black sheep, now guys, I want you to pay very close attention to this. The very big reason why those black sheep, they extract themselves from those entire units is because they're trying to protect themselves. Because like I've said, this is a dysfunction going on. These are narcissistic parents. Sometimes you may be dealing with psychopaths and all these kind of sociopaths and very, very physically abusive individuals. So in a case whereby the black sheep extracts themselves from those entire units, they are usually doing it out of protection. Number one, to protect themselves, and number two, to run out of the abuse and not to be participating anymore in that kind of abuse. So they extract themselves from those entire units, and they leave that vicinity. They blow the trumpet, they make it known to other family members, and now everybody is aware of this. Now remember, there's a narcissistic parent at the top. Like I've said, you guys remember my video, I said there's always a narcissistic parent at the top who is in charge of this whole dysfunction and who has been covering this dysfunction under the sheets. So that dysfunction, what happens is that the narcissistic parent, what they will do, they will now start to gather a lot of family members to come on their side, you know what I mean? So they will start to bring a lot of some of these other family members. Of course, you know, those dysfunctional families, the very first family member who is going to join up with the parent is the golden child. So you have got to pay attention to the golden children. For you guys black sheep who are out there, you have got to pay attention to the golden children. Those golden children are the very first ones to attach themselves to the narcissistic parent. So they are going to do whatever it is in their power to defend their narcissistic parents, because they are always going to stand with the narcissistic parents for as long as they will be living. But remember, these also so-called golden children of those families, they are also part of the problem, because remember, they have been brought up and trained to be like the narcissists themselves. So most of the golden children you see around the world, sometimes you may find a lot of them, they have a lot of codependency issues. They may be codependent empaths. You guys already know, and I may even have to do a whole video about the codependent empath. but most of them, they turn out to become narcissists themselves. So they adopt a lot of narcissistic traits, which is one of the reasons why most of them, they are going to end up joining up with the narcissistic parent and teaming up and ganging up on the black sheep who has blown the trumpet. So a lot of the problems you're going to find as a black sheep who has awakened, you're going to find that the very first people who are going to gang up on you, they're going to be the golden children, because those children, they have been trained and they have been brought up to be loyal to the narcissistic parent. So they're supposed to do everything in their power to make sure that they protect the narcissistic parent. You know what I mean? So that has been programmed within them ever since they have been a child. But now you have a problem whereby the black sheep has left that family, and now that dysfunction, some family members are starting to see that dysfunction for what it is. So what usually happens is that when that guy leaves now, they have started shaking up the whole foundation of that toxic family unit. So now the narcissistic parent, what they will do, because remember, this is a whole dysfunction going on, and it has got to be now let us get something straight in this video, guys. The reason why they call it dysfunctional family is because that family is running on dysfunctional patterns. So you can never find a normal family whereby you see people given different roles. You find a golden child, you find a scapegoat, you find a paralyzed child, the lost child, and all these kind of people. You can never find a normal family operating on those kind of dysfunctional patterns. So they call it a dysfunctional family for reasons, because number one, that family is run by a narcissist. So the narcissist puts all these people in stages just because they have got to do everything in their power to protect that foundation. So what happens is that when that family is starting to shake up, remember, when you're detaching from that kind of family unit, I'm talking about you guys, the black sheep, when you are detaching from those entire family units, that departure is going to be felt both physically and emotionally and spiritually. They are going to feel that detachment of the black sheep. And now remember, for the most of the times, the black sheep has been a part of that entire unit. They have been making a lot of noise. They have been speaking. They have been shouting. They have always been talking. But because you have got a person at the top who doesn't want the truth to come out, so most of the times, they have even sometimes punished the black sheep, because the black sheep, they have always been talking about the truth. And most of the cases, the truth has always been suppressed by some of the family members, especially the golden child and also the narcissistic parent. So what happens is that the black sheep, when they are trying to leave and retract themselves from that entire unit, the narcissistic parent at the top, they are going to do everything in their power, because they are going to know now the truth is going to come out. Because remember, the awakening, it is a process that it shakes up the whole entire narcissistic family unit. You know what I mean? So what happens is that the narcissistic parent, now they have got to fight very hard to make sure that they defend this whole entire system. So what they will do, the narcissistic parent, because remember, guys, the narcissist, I don't want you guys to get it twisted. The narcissist does not have any favorite. They are going to act like, yes, the golden children, they're their favorites or things like that. But I can guarantee you that the narcissist, they can turn and they can switch at any point in their lives. So what usually happens, the narcissist, the narcissist at the top, the parent or the head of this dysfunction, what usually happens, when the black sheep leaves, the narcissist now starts to struggle and to tremble, because remember, the narcissist, the last thing they want is the truth to come out to the surface, and they do not want any of the family members and other people around the unit to know everything about the truth, what is going on. But for some reason, the narcissist knows that the black sheep, they know the truth. So what usually happens is that the narcissist now, they struggle to keep the entire family unit together. Now, this is why it's going to become very interesting, because what happens now is that the narcissist, they now start to recruit. Because remember, when the narcissist, when the black sheep leaves that entire toxic family unit, they leave a very huge gaping hole in that entire unit. And it becomes very uncomfortable for all the other family members in that entire unit. Because now remember, they don't have anybody in that entire unit to take their crap. So they don't have any places like a garbage, you know, it's like a piece of trash. So they do not have anyone in that entire unit to take their trash, you know what I mean? So they don't have anywhere to deposit their garbage. So they are emotional and whatever it is, whatever garbage they've always been having within themselves. So the black sheep is gone. Now there's a problem, because there's a very big, huge gaping hole in that entire unit. So what happens is that now, the narcissist parent, what they do, because they have got to do everything in their power to make sure that they keep this family running at all costs. So what they do, they now start to turn on to other family members. So the mate usually start with the golden child, because remember, the golden child has always been the favorite child in that entire unit. So they're going to turn to the golden child and try to replace the golden child with somebody else, and normally the roles are going to start to switch. So you may find sometimes the paralyzed child, for example, if they're still in that family, or the lost child if they're still in that family. Because remember, guys, again, it is also usually the lost children, the lost child, they're also empaths. You know what I mean? But those are empaths who have been like inactive in that entire unit. So the narcissist now starts to appoint other different family members. So they may start with the golden child and try to now turn the golden child into the black sheep. Because remember, guys, it is very important for you to understand that in all dysfunctional family units, there has got to be somebody what they call the scapegoat. Because the scapegoat, they are the strongest individuals who actually take up all the baggage that has been going on in that entire unit. So what happens? The narcissist now will try to get out, to go head on head with the golden child. They try to turn the golden child into the black sheep or into the scapegoat. But remember that nobody in that family is prepared to be a scapegoat, because remember, we are talking about a dysfunctional family in this case. So nobody is ready to take up that role of being a scapegoat in that entire unit. So whatever the black sheep has left, the narcissistic parent at the top, they try to keep the stability in that family by recruiting a new member from the family to become the new black sheep or the new scapegoat. You know what I mean? So what happens is that they will try with the golden child, but the golden child normally, that thing doesn't work, because remember, the golden child is not used to being criticized. They've always been admired and given the bonuses and everything. So they've been always the golden children for as long as that entire unit has existed. So now they cannot become a black sheep because they are not used to take all the crap from everybody around them, and they're sometimes very emotional, and even sometimes most of them, they've already turned out to become narcissists themselves. So the narcissists, what they will do now, they will start to turn. They may sometimes turn to the. They may turn to the lost child. Usually they can turn to the lost child. That is if the lost child is still part of the unit. They may turn to the lost child to now start to try to, because remember, this entire unit, they have got to find somebody. There's got to be somebody in that entire unit that they can deposit their garbage, their trash, and their BS. You know what I mean? So there's got to be somebody. When the black sheep leaves, there's a very huge hole, and everybody can fill that gap in that family. Because normally the black sheep, their people are very quiet, and they rarely talk. When they talk, they only want to talk about the truth. So as long as these family members have been depositing their garbage on you, when you leave those entire unit, they feel a very big difference, because now they don't have anywhere to do. They don't know what to do. They are not used to depositing their garbage onto other family members, and they don't know what to do when it comes to their garbage. They have got to keep silently and sit quietly and deal with their own trash. So what happens is that now, the narcissistic parent, because of the gaping hole that is existing within the unit, the narcissistic parent now, they divert their attention to somebody else. Now, this is where the video is going to get interesting, guys. I want you to pay very close attention. If you have been involved with a narcissistic family unit, I want you to pay very close attention. You are going to notice that there is a new member in the family that is now starting to take the blame. And this is why you are going to know exactly, this is going to give you the confirmation that you've been dealing with a very toxic family unit. If you ever notice that the black sheep has left, the scapegoat has left that entire family unit, and you ever notice that the narcissist, the parent, because remember, nobody has ever believed the scapegoat. For as long as those guys have been talking, they've been talking trash in front of other family members, because nobody ever even believed them. But the very moment that black sheep, the scapegoat, leaves that unit, and you ever noticed that the parent at the top, the narcissistic parent at the top, they are struggling to bring in a new member in the family, that member that had always been ignored. Now, in this case, we may sometimes talk about the lost child, because remember, the golden child cannot take up that unit, that role of being a scapegoat. Now, the narcissist is going to scramble around the other family members, and they are going to pick up on the lost child. Normally, it is going to happen that the least person you expected, the person that has not been a part of that unit for a very long period of time, they may have been a part of the unit, but they were like very quiet, somewhere reserved, not talking anything, and hidden in the background. If you ever see the narcissistic parent recruiting somebody from the sides, and that person, that family member has never been part of that team for as long as you guys have been existing, for as long as you, the black sheep, has been part of that unit, that person, that particular individual, I'm talking about the lost child, they have never been part of that team. That is when you're going to know exactly that you are dealing with a dysfunctional family and you are involved in a very toxic family unit. For that case, you are dealing with a narcissistic parent. If you ever notice that there's a person being recruited from the outside, that person has not been a part of the team for so many years, for a long period of time, and all of a sudden that person gets recruited into the family all of a sudden, just because a scapegoat has left the family unit. That is going to give you the confirmation that you guys, wherever you are, wherever you are, you have been dealing with a toxic family unit, and you're most likely dealing with a narcissistic parent. So it is going to give you the confirmation, and this is the biggest meaning of this video, to let you guys know that always when the scapegoat leaves a toxic family unit, there's going to be a new recruit. So it is upon to you to understand when you see this kind of thing happening. Understand when you ever see anything happening like that, a new recruit is coming into the family. You have got to be sure that the parent at the top, you have always been dealing, whether you knew it or you didn't know it, whether you want to deny it, you can deny it, you can refuse it, you can reject it, but you've been dealing with a narcissistic parent. So in a dysfunctional family, these are some of the things that are going to happen as the black sheep leaves. The black sheep is a very, very strong individual. Those individuals, they are very strong. Most of the cases, they have been punished. They have been, all these kind of things have been done to them, but that is because of their strength. Because most of the guys, the teams in that family, they can sense that there's something different about them. Those individuals, it doesn't matter what they do, they always get back. It doesn't matter how hard they fall, they always get back up, stand again and fight again. So they are the warriors in the family, and they are the chosen ones. So when those chosen ones leave the family, the entire family unit, they shake up the foundation, and that entire unit has got to survive. So they recruit somebody new from the outside to come and replace that role of being a scapegoat in that entire family. Now let's remember, like again, this continues to the video that I did before, which said that of course this kind of cycles don't keep on going forever. At some point, this kind of cycles, they come to a stop. At the end, when that family unit, the guy at the top, I talked about in that video, I talked about the narcissistic parent or the narcissistic grandparents. When one of them dies, that is exactly when those kind of generational cycles are getting broken. Because remember, in these dysfunctional families, they are also operating and running a generational cycle. That cycle, it dies with the death of the person at the top, the narcissistic parent or the narcissistic grandparent. So when the person at the top dies, that's why this whole thing is going to start to split, and all the members are going to go back to their original identity. Of course, it's going to take a lot of therapy, a lot of healing, a lot of things to be done, a lot of reconciliation to happen. But the parent at the top has got to go. When the parent goes or dies at the top, that is exactly when they die with their whole generational curse and everything like that. So for the most of you guys who didn't see my previous video, I want you guys go back and see that video. It was a very, very important video. What happens when the black sheep is breaking down the generational curse. So guys, if this video makes sense, I want to know, have you been the black sheep in your own family? Have you been the scapegoat? Have you seen some of those things I'm talking about? If you have seen a new recruit getting recruited in the family, or somebody has called you from the family and they have told you now that there's a person taking the blame instead of you, I would like to know that in the comment section below, guys, because that is confirmation to you that you've been dealing with, it's a confirmation that you've been dealing with a dysfunctional family, and you've also been dealing with narcissistic parent. Let me know what you think about this video, guys, in the comment section below. I always love and appreciate your support. Donations and support are not always expected, but they're always appreciated because they help me to produce more content for you guys out there. Of course, guys, if you need a coaching session or something like that, get in touch with me. There are some guys who have been telling me that their accounts don't operate with Cashapp and PayPal, but at the moment, those are the only two options I have. If you want to donate to this channel, if you want to pay or something like that, if you want to make a payment or whatever it is, book a session or things like that, it is only Cashapp and PayPal I can use at the moment. There's no other way around it, guys, and I'll apologize for that. Other than that, guys, it's been lovely to have you guys on board. I always appreciate and love your support. Much love and blessings, and I'll get back to you in my next video. Bless. Desmos signing out. Peace.